Hello and welcome to Wednesday's Daily Rundown with me, Drew Tosh. Tonight on the programme we'll be joined by Nicola Gleave, who will be talking about a new way to raise awareness and money for cancer. But first we're chewing the fat about the stories making the news today, including phone message encrypting, the junior doctor's latest strike and tagging dogs. First though, I need two guests to help me through it all, and thank God two have turned up. Firstly, film buff and co-host of the Pink Jazz podcast, Christopher Grogan.
Hello.
Hello. And completing the team tonight, stand-up comedian Clayton Jones.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Don't forget you can also get involved with the programme at home by tweeting us at the Daily Rundown. Go on, you know you want to. So it's time now for our first news story, and junior doctors are on strike again. This is the fourth stoppage in the dispute, with almost 25,000 procedures cancelled overall since industrial action began. Junior doctors will only provide emergency care during the strike, which is expected to hit hard. And the first full walkout in the history of the NHS by junior doctors is planned for later this month, when doctors will withdraw all labour and provide no emergency cover. So are we eventually going to withdraw support from the junior doctors if we become directly affected? And is this possibly the government's hope? Clayton?
I just think it's an ongoing thing that's going to go on and on and on. I don't really agree with people imposing contracts on people. That's a bit of a dictatorship regime, isn't it? Considering we are supposed to be a free country over here, that's forcing their opinions on people, which I disagree with, really.
Because they are potentially going to be able to take the government to court over this as well, because of it being an imposition. It's technically not partly legal or watertight legal. That would be a bit of a precedent as well, wouldn't it?
Well, I don't know anywhere else where people have been forced to do a job under certain contracts. No one else can. If you was in a company, I'm sure ACAS would support you 100% in that. If anybody tried to impose or force you to do a certain thing, you couldn't do it. So I don't see why the government feel they're above all that and they can do it.
They are trying though to maybe make us feel less sympathetic for the junior doctors. I mean, they're making quite a play of saying it's a 13% pay increase. And obviously the more they allow strikes to go on, the more people like all of us will be directly affected. Procedures will be cancelled, operations put back. Do you think they're hoping that if they play the long game, the support will go and the junior doctors will feel that, well, they just have to give in?
I think they are, actually. I think what they're trying to do is that it becomes a bit of a thing where everyone starts to get a bit more frustrated with the doctors, and eventually everyone will lean towards the government probably, because people will think, I've had an appointment cancelled, I've had this cancelled, where are we going to go? But the government should be diplomatically sorting it out sooner rather than later. It's both parties, really. I mean, at the end of the day, I've said when I come on the show last time, everybody works weekends. I do.
Yeah.
You know, in the way the world is 24/7, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everyone works. So there's two sides to the story, isn't there? Everyone works. I work Saturdays and Sundays. So
I guess, so playing devil's advocate then, do you think then, Chris, that potentially the support's going to go because we're going to be affected by it, and people might think, as you say, we all work weekends, a lot of people work weekends, but we're not doing the kind of life or death type of job that the doctors are doing?
Well, I don't think the support will go for the doctors. I've known people who've had appointments cancelled and surgeries cancelled, but it's not like they're going to say, no, I'm with the government now, they should stop this, we should just get back to it. But I think the doctors are right for this, and I go to the hospital myself for my cystic fibrosis, and I know if the doctors weren't there, I'd support them fully.
Does it make you slightly fearful though, with all the strikes going on, this is not the time to have an accident? This is not the time to need any kind of medical attention?
Maybe, but even in the past, if you broken arm, you're still in A&E for 4 hours, 5 hours. It might be the same now, you never know. It might be longer.
So then when you look at the fact that with the NHS strike coming up, people can't help be ill, things happen, life hits people. How do you think that will make the public perception? Because people will be needing emergency services or the immediate help, and it won't be there. That's a big gamble for the doctors to take, isn't it?
It is, but
I think eventually what will happen is it's like everything in everyone's job that we work in, someone else will do it. You'll get to that scenario where someone else will do it for that money. there's loads of businesses out there where trying to cut costs, so they make people redundant and saying, right, this is your new salary. And they said, I don't want to do it. And someone down the road will step in and do it. There'll always be someone who will fill the gap, isn't there?
Yeah.
But this is a specific niche. I mean, people have to be qualified to be able to
I
deal
know,
with
but
that.
I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of doctors out there, junior doctors who are edging towards being qualified that maybe think, I'd do it for that.
Because the other thing that's happening is lots of vacancies are coming up for these roles and they're not being filled. People aren't applying anymore because the conditions are now so difficult to deal with.
No.
So in that sense, we're also losing potential future sort of generations of doctors because they're moving abroad or they're just giving up the profession. How can we make people look at the bigger picture on all this? The fact that we're losing people to the industry, that if this is enforced upon them, they'll be working silly hours, and you don't want someone treating you if they've been doing a 27-hour shift.
Yeah.
The bigger picture, who should be looking at that? Presumably, as always, the government.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is all the government. If they look at it, they should be able to sort it. That's why they're in power. They should be able to do all these things. Do
you think, though, realistically, though, they look at it from a slight distance, because the bulk of the people making these decisions will probably have private health care. They probably don't use the NHS personally. Are they the best people to be making decisions at all about this?
I think whenever anyone becomes an MP, I think they distance themselves from reality and go into a position where, like you say, they don't live a normal life like we do. They live a different life, a different standard of living, where what we require from the doctors and the junior doctors, they mostly won't be needing it. So sometimes it's wrong to make a decision about something that you're not qualified to know about, which is strange in itself, really, isn't it? So, what
about, say, a scenario then, the NHS strike goes ahead, you've broken your leg, you had an accident, you broke your leg, you're lying there, you're waiting for somebody to help you, or someone manages to take you to A&E, and nothing actually happens when you get there. It's a bit of a sobering thought, really, isn't it?
It's a scary situation.
And a broken leg is...
Ice bath.
It worked when I was younger.
Or other things that are available.
Calpol solved everything.
Right,
it might be the way forward.
Possibly.
Maybe you go to the doctors and you get there and there's a bloke there with Calpol. You have a spoonful of that, you sit down for an hour, and if that works, you're off.
Yeah,
then again,
if you can walk, you can leave.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, but the thing is, nowadays though, I mean, be honest with you, there's too many people who do go to doctors for nothings.
Yeah,
yes.
Just
so although
niggling ailments.
Yeah, there's too many people, time wasters, who go to the doctor. There's people who actually generally needed treatment and help, and there's people who like a bit of attention and go to the doctors and mess about. And
there's a combination thing. The last time I was at hospital, I was in the waiting room and I saw some of the films they were showing, and one was about the incredible time-wasting people that come in there. You know, one had chipped a nail or something dumb like that, and one our son had a bit of, it was minor stuff, but they felt immediately had to go and get treatment, and this of course blocks the queues up. In terms of things like that, there's also the fact that they can't get appointments from their own GPs, so they're going to A&E and stuff because they have to wait 2 weeks to see their own doctor. It looks like the whole cycle of things needs to be reworked generally, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, be honest with you, near Wigan there used to be a maternity hospital in Billinge. They shut that now, and now you go to Wigan Hospital. Is that putting more pressure on the doctors that are there? Surely they should keep that separate. If you start keeping things separate, there isn't such a backlog, is there? Because people will go off to there, they'll go off to there, rather than everyone going to the same place and it being overcrowded to get seen. Do you know what I mean? It was better when it was separate. You know, I mean, if you was a woman who was pregnant going to hospital, you don't want to walk in and pass accident emergency and there's a drunk bloke that's... Do you? You'd want to go into safer... Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense, really. And to me, they're putting pressure on themselves by doing that. Or I presume the governments have made and the councils have made that decisions, but they're putting pressure on themselves. Then there'd be more backlog and more hours are required. But if you separated it, surely the hours wouldn't be required as much, because there wouldn't be such a pressure on one place to solve everything, would there?
Yeah. And Chris, you were saying that you go regularly for cystic fibrosis.
Yes.
Have you noticed any changes, any differences?
No, normally on the ward that I go on, it's specific doctors always there all the time. Great team at Wythenshawe Hospital I go and see. There's no problems with the junior doctor strike that I've seen. But if there was a problem, I'd totally understand where they're coming from, totally support it, and they do everything for me and in their hands.
But if it was to say hold up another appointment or another visit or treatment or whatever, there's not a little part you'd be a tiny bit sort of frustrated by it all?
No, I don't think so. There's been times in the past when the appointment's been cancelled and I'm like, okay, I can go in a couple of weeks. Unless I was seriously ill, I don't need to be in. It's just for a routine checkup that I go into. And even when I am ill, if I'm in the hospital, they'll be like, right, we need you in. You're coming in straight away.
The thing is, sorry for interrupting.
Go.
The thing is as well that I go to the doctors, and I went to the doctors recently to the hospital because for an operation, and it got put back. I presume because of the strike and that. But that's okay, me being understanding. But when you go to the hospital and it's a life-saving operation that day, and you're a relative, and your relatives passed away that day because there was a shortage, you're not going to be as understanding.
That's the biggest fear, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a horrible scenario, but when you're in that position, you don't want shortages. You want everybody there to do that job, and then you'll be less. If people said money, then you think money or life.
Yeah. Well, it's a story that will run and run. Let's hope there can be some resolution. But we're going to be back in a couple of minutes with some more of today's news stories, so don't go away.